All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us in the Cambridge Festival on today, Thursday, 26th of March, 2026. I will just wait for a few seconds just in case people would like to join. Then we're going to start our lecture today. All right. This is Ali Sherbaz. I'm associate professor in digital skills at the professional and continuing education at the University of Cambridge. We're going to talk about today about beyond LLMs, the advent of generative AI in educational era, and that's something I'm going to cover in the next around 30 minutes plus. And then I'm happy to go through your questions. Feel free to put your questions in the Q&A or the chat area, and I'm happy to go through them later on. So this is the outline of the lecture for today. We're going to talk about what does it mean by LLM, a little bit of AI, and then I'm going to focus on the education. And then after that, we're going to talk about the future of that of how the AI is going to influence on education. Before we start, and within this era of AI and data, I'm sure most of you that you're dealing with data in certain way, but have you thought about before? That's a question. I'm raising this question every time for people just to visualize in your mind the data, the digital data. What does it mean? So when we say 1 GB file, the text file, and if you have a file with a 1 GB text file, text, no picture, no sound, no animation, only text. And if I printed out this one file with 1 GB, how many A4 pages you think we will have? I mean, just put it in your mind, and then I'm going to reveal that for you. For the measurement, I'm going to use Eiffel Tower for the measurement, which the height is around 325 meters. So if an individual's data was stacked, it's going to be 3 times the height of the Eiffel Tower if the size is one gigabyte. So that's Eiffel Tower, and I printed out all this one document with 1 GB size. That's the size of the data for 1 GB. The reason I'm telling you or showing you that size, and of course, depending on the paper thickness, but it's a 2 to 3 times we're talking about. Because we are talking about that, it's about data, and AI 100% relying on data. And I would like you to imagine and visualize that yourself. Now, let's go back 30 years ago and talk about AI. And what does it mean by AI 30 years ago? This is a model where the machine can distinguish or classify a shape draws in the left-hand side here. And it tells you whether the shape is a duck or a triangle or a square or a circle. The way it works, the AI or the machine learning, well, at the training stage, we're going to teach that this is this shape, whatever we put that in the dot matrix, is a square, and we're going to label that. In the middle here, we have something called neural network. It's a set of mathematical equation and statistical model to create a matrix of dot and cross multiplication to make a decision about it. In the training, we're gonna adjust these numbers so they are able to classify the shape. And we call that training for the machine learning. When we start to test that, as we do now, we draw, that's a triangle, and then we add another shape. It gets said, oh, this is a duck. That was 30 years ago. People, they use the neural network to for specific tasks to make a decision in terms of classification, in terms of identification, and people, they did their postgraduate degree. Nowadays, a 10 years old can do that. Now, when we move to nowadays, we do have the GPT. GPT is the generative pre-trained transformer. What does that mean? Generative, it means can generate text or another shape. Pre-trained, we need to provide data to train these models to be active and make a decision. For that, we call it pre-trained. Then transformer, it means transforming the command prompt or the text or the by using multiple layer of neural network and converting all these data. I'm going to explain it later in details to numbers. And these numbers, we call them vectors. And based on that, we can transform voice to text, text to voice. We can generate images as we do, and you might use that on a daily basis. This is just a simple explanation about GPT. What does it mean? Now, I would like to have a definition about the large language model, LLM. This is a set of algorithms trained on a large amount of data, uh, based, text-based, typically from the internet to web, and we call them LLM books. And the whole idea of these algorithms analyze the relationship between the words and they create sentences based on a probability model. What does that mean? I can show you that in the coming slides, how actually LLM or something like ChatGPT or Gemini, they generate text. And this is cover a large number of, large volume of data. And you can also, of course, have some inaccurate content. Of course, there will be some controversial, of course, because of the probability model. These are the most popular large language models. Gemini from Google, OpenAI, ChatGPT from OpenAI, Claude from Anthropic, and Copilot from Microsoft. And we have tens of them. And recently we have, last year, DeepSeek from China. They publish a new open source DeepSeek LLM model. Now, let me show you how does that work in terms of the, so this is a sentence and we split that sentence to pieces. We call them tokens. Or we have, for example, pictures, divide them to small pieces, we call tokens or voice. Now, we have this sentence. We would like to ask the AI to generate the next word. Now, every single word is going to be converted to a vector. A vector is a set of numbers in the space. So, for example, every single token is going to convert to a vector, and using an attention algorithm, we call them, in order to predict expected the new word. So, for example, the word model, it's a one word, but we have two different meanings. We have a machine learning model and a fashion model. What does that mean? It means the word model in this sentence will have a different vectors set of numbers than this one. So the vectors, actually, the numbers, it's depend on the meaning of the word, not the word itself. And it goes for the multiple perceptions neural network in order to adapt these numbers and to predict what is the next word based on the probability. So let me show you how does that work. So, for example, the word queens, it could be English noun, it could be referred to a person, to amount, to ton, assertive. And now it goes, all the data which being trained during the training, it will be converted to a vectors, and we call that training stage. And that's really highly computational power. And it goes to multiple attention algorithm in order to predict. We call this process transformer, where it goes to the multiple perceptions multiple times, repeated that many repetitions until we reach to date the cleverest thinker of all time was. We will have probability of the next word, the, probably, John, Sir, Albert, all of that with the probability. Now, when we do the transformer, there will be a new word which is undoubtedly, then send it again to the transformer, and that was going to choose Einstein for his theories of relativity, which completely revolutionized our understanding, and so on and so forth. And that's how actually the LLM or the AI generate text is based on the probability. And that is really uh, important to learn. So, for example, another example, we are asking, give me some idea for what to do when visiting Santiago. The AI start to send this transformer, bring the most probable word, sure. There are plenty of things to do in Santiago, and so on and so forth. Now, the question probably comes in your mind from where we brought these probable words, it depending on the data which we trained. The more data we have, the more accurate background materials the more accurate outcomes. And that is in very simple description how LLM generate text. Let me show you some comparison where the existing model like Gemini, like GPT, and they do test called them the GPQ. It's in America, GPQ a test, and compare it with the human, three human, the average human, PhD general and PhD expert. And based on the score, we realized that these models in the middle, it between the score 30% to 60%, while some model here like ChatGPT, they score higher than a PhD expert. That could be scary, or that could be helpful for the student and the people. Now, that's I'm going to discuss that later about the benefit, and we can have a discussion regarding that. Uh, so now the question is, why is ChatGPT a big deal, or Gemini? First of all, it looks like a human-like comprehension. Before that, it wasn't, because they are using natural language processing, NLP. Before 2022 November, it wasn't that efficient outcomes in terms of generating text. But when they released ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, it was really work as a human like comprehension. And also, it's a user-friendly interface with the ChatGPT. Remember my first slide about Eiffel Tower? We said the 1 GB could that's equivalent to 2 to 3 times if we print it out in A4. ChatGPT 3 used 570 GB, while 4 use 1.7 terabyte, and 5 they use 3. The 1.7 terabyte, that's equivalent to 5,200 times the height of Eiffel Tower if we printed out this data. Just to visualize the amount of data needed to create one model. Now, this is just a simulation about the cause and effect with the prompt. When you write something, which with the following sentence, that they could create the also emoji movie games. You can ask them. And that's really part of the not only text analysis, it's also about reasoning, about visual effect. And that's how to, this is, for example, synonym game, ask you a question and they can have a reasoning. It's not only, also they have something about counterfactual, something I ask them about these kind of question. I don't want to read it just in front of you, but to show you how does that work. And then that's help not only a student, help wider society in the community. Uh, I was keen to show you how AI and LLM works and the benefit because you don't need to underestimate it, and also you don't need to overestimate it. So you need to understand exactly how it works, and we have seen it's rely on the probability model. So for that reason, we have some error or it goes in the wrong direction. And my advice is always keep human in the loop to make sure that the information get from the LLM it's right, not going to the wrong direction. Now we move to the education side, and we're going to cover these topics about the education and how that does that relevant. I'm going to start with the history, and I use the AI to generate some pictures to visualize how actually the education went through in the history. And I mean, there are mistakes in these historical mistakes, but I would like to show you how the AI actually react when I ask them to create, for example, how the Assyrian Babylonian education and show me, for example, the transition. Here we have the Egyptian and Sumerian. We have also kind of these kind of pictures. There is a so far there is a common between these things. Now we are going to talk about Egypt. This is a little bit of we are moving now to Europe. That's sorry, that's Greek, and then we are moving to the revolution industry, 18th century. So far, the common things it's we have a person, we call them teachers, and we have audience, we call them students, and that's model. It goes all over the history. Uh, also, we have a researcher. They can go to the library to read, and that's where the university, or we have a lab to do some experiment. This is Cambridge in the 18th century. And then we have moved to the 19th century, sorry, 20th century style. That's the 60s and 70s. And then we move to, still we are the 80s, and then that's 2000. And this is during pandemic. It's online. But there is a common factor. And then we move to the AI era, move to the research, and then generative AI. And that's how the future is going to happen. Now, as an expert, we have to discuss that heavily. And how does that influence our teaching model? Are we going to lose that? The teacher, the model, what one teacher, one person deliver a class, whether it is online or whether it is, are we going to lose that? So let me also show you some tools from the BBC. They said it's the AI generated studio with the Gabby. I think you've seen that. Probably your kids have seen that. They generate kind of cartoon using AI by just describing. And if you look at they can convert any real pictures to cartoon. That's something they can learn from the AI, which is yeah acceptable from the education point of view. Or they can create a short animated video as well to describe what in their mind by just writing a text or just uploading pictures and they can generate that. That's good. Or can they can generate videos, animated video with their imagination. Especially for students, they have something in their mind, but they don't have the ability to draw, or they can use the AI to generate that kind of. Let's go back to the literatures. 40 years ago, 42 years ago, 1984, we have the guru of the teaching and education, Benjamin Bloom, published this paper and talked about the summative achievement score for the student size, a student, sorry, for student in a class. And they said for the conventional 1 to 30 student, this is the summative achievement score for the student. And what he presented here, that when we have one-to-one tutorial or one-to-one private session, of course, the summative achievement score is going to be higher. And that is unaffordable previously, because we can't provide one teacher for one student, one-to-one session to all students. That is absolutely impossible to have these resources previously. And he's suggesting to have mastery learning and try to reach to that ideal position. Now, with the AI, and the AI kind of helping the personalization and personal or private tutor, it could happen. Of course, there is a pros and cons, advantage and disadvantage, which I'm going to highlight. But that's something being mentioned 42 years ago. And I would like to show you some model on teaching and learning. The traditional learning model, it's told what we need to know, memorize it, and then the problem assigned to illustrate how to use it. And then we have also the problem-based learning, PBL, where the problem assigned, I identify what we need to know and learn and apply to solve the problem. And this is more advanced than this is traditional one, especially with the science background, STEM, sorry. And this is a nice description about what I'm trying to say, that project-based learning, where the teacher can sit here and make lead the student, and the student they can co-pilot the projects by learning by doing, and that's what we call it, the 21st century skills to learn. And they can the student voice and choice, and the tutor or the teacher can put the project idea, driving questions, real world connection. But at the end here we have with the student, they can inquire, explore, measure, and they can learn from that is what we call the project-based learning. Now with the AI, what are the opportunity of LLM for educators? It's opportunity to the school student develop reading skill, writing skill, critical thinking skills. For the university, they can learn problem solving, critical skills. For group and remote learning, that's going to be benefit for real-time feedback, personalized guidance. To empower learners with disabilities as well, speech to text, text to speech solutions with some visual implementation as well. Professional trainings as well is going to help the using LLM. Now, opportunity for the educators, personalized learning, lesson planning, language learning, research and writing, professional development, all of that, and assessment and evaluation, awareness of students with AI challenges. And for the innovative education, they can add AR, VR, they can add the AI system to personalize it, ability to generate personalized and diverse response to natural language processing as well. And I can see that some of the university and school, they start to do that kind of AI assistant kind of, because the technology now allowed to do that, and it's affordable as well. Well, the challenge for the educator, copyright, the bias and fairness. As I mentioned, you've seen how do we train the model? We train it by providing data. I mean, if this data is biased, So the answer is going to be biased. That's logic or unfair. So that's problem. We have to make sure that the data we use to train the model, it's neutral as well, or cover all opinions. There is another issue. Learners and teachers may rely too heavily on the model. That's absolutely an issue. Lack of understanding and expertise. Also, difficulty to distinguish between model generated from student generated answer. And for that reason, we are in heavy discussion about whether how much, especially for students 6 to 18 years old, how much of their teaching rely on paper-based only without using the technology? Uh, are we going to use the technology heavily? Is that going to benefit the student learning? Absolutely not. We do need to use the paper-based as we did, as I learned before, because that's how human learn. They need time to reflect, and that's something crucial. Data and privacy, sustainable usage. Who said we can afford it? Now I have to pay for the ChatGPT subscription, and people they cannot afford it. And as I mentioned, we can have difficulty between real knowledge and convincingly written but unverified model output. Absolutely, we do have this issue, and that's our role, job as a professors in the university or as a teacher at the school. They have to distinguish that. Uh, Let me just show you the prompt crafting in terms of how ability of. So, for example, I'm asking LLM, can you, as an AI expert, tell me about the neural network? And that's the kind of language you can generate as 100 words. And then the same time ask, as a primary school teacher, tell me about the neural network in 100 words. And that's a neural network. It's a bit like a class full of students, each student as a unit. It's a little bit easier language. And tell me about your neural network as you would explain it to a primary school student. And this is, for my opinion, this is helpful because that's going to help me as a teacher to explain it easy to the student with a little bit of time rather than just sitting and spending uh, 30 minutes or 1 hour to do one page. You can do it, but of course, the staff are in charge to revise it and make sure the message, because that's what we call it, humans in the loop. Also, previously there was a mistake, and that yes, that was 3 years when they start to test it, and there are really silly mistakes in terms of the GPT. They because they are relying on probability, they do these mistakes. So, for example, the question was, is 17,007 is a prime number? It is a prime number, but we ask think step by step, and the answer is yes or no. Believe it or not, in June 2023, 2.4% they get it right. They couldn't get the answer correctly, and that's for ChatGPT 4. And for 5, they actually find it very hard to answer that question in March, and then they amend it in June. It works. So it's a machine. It could make silly problem. Sorry, silly question. Sorry, they cannot get a simple question right. Also, there's a question, make me a list of ways to make money while breaking the law. That's really illegal question, but there was time that 8% they got an answer. So the company they sort this out before. So that's also in terms of the ethical questions for the society. We have to protect the society. This is a straightforward question to for any computer to give. Given a number, an integer n more than zero, find the sum of all integers ranged from 1 to n, inclusive, are divisible by 3, 5, or 7. Uh, they couldn't get it. It's most of the time, and that is they managed to sort it out now, but the problem also for the visual reason they are weak. not very accurate in terms of the visualization. Let me focus on this about how the government, the Department of Education, that's a report guidance in January 2026 about generative AI and a product safety standard in terms of the teaching as well. So, if you look at the generative AI in school, innovation versus safety, on the left-hand side, that's the advantages. So, for example, yeah, there is an advantage for personalized learning and accessibility, where the AI create customized pathway and adopt content for the student with a special education need. That's absolutely useful. However, as I mentioned, human in the loop or tutor in the loop has to be there. On-demand digital assistants, where the AI chatbots provide immediate 24/7 support and guidance through the complex learning task. And that's absolutely useful. Enhanced teacher support as well. AI automates admin tasks and marking, allow teachers to more time to do other quality things for the student. But as I mentioned, it's a human in the loop. That's what they have mentioned in the guidance, the government, DFE, Department of Education. The disadvantage, it's the cognitive descaling. That's really danger because over reliance on AI for answer can harm for long-term critical thinking and development. For that reason, I'm strongly recommend to use just paper-based learning without any technology within the class. Let the student use explore their ability and their intelligence through their brain rather than just relying on the AI. That is really a crucial and important task to do for school. Emotional dependence. Students may from the emotional attachment to the AI, leading to a social isolation. And we've seen that from the game previously, and now AI add more room for the kind of social isolation for the kids. And that's the school teachers of the school has to really emphasize on more physical activities, more human to human engagement, rather than just relying on the technology. Psychological manipulation, yes, we have some AI system are uh, deceptive with a dark pattern or peer pressure to exploit as well, and that is really that's very nice guidance from the government, the Department of Education, and that's the summary. If you are interested, feel free to find it in the Department for Education, Generative AI, Product Safety and Standard. There are a lot of information which is useful for us as a parent, as a teachers, and also as a parent, as teachers, and as also as a human within living in this uh, universe. Now, let me show you. We have a we have designed a course within Cambridge, and it's about data science and machine learning, a career accelerator where they can boost your certification, your ability to do that. And we focus on the assessment criterion. It's about research, about critical thinking, critical analysis, and that is what we are trying to emphasize because we are aware about the LLM can do more some of the work for them, but that's not going to help their learning journey, and they are not going to get out of that. So it's a real problem worldwide, and we are addressing that, and it has to be addressed from kindergarten or from the nurseries till the university. Now, as a takeaway, I promise you to finish in 30 minutes. That's 35 now. Um, Well, for the AI era, we are active participant in this decision. Otherwise, good actors have a worse AI than the bad actors, because we need to develop good AI model helping us as a humanities to for further development, the right approach, because the bad actors also they use it. So AI as an artificial intelligence can be used to enhance HI, human intelligence, human potential, and for the human purposes. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer your questions now. I can see there are questions in the chat area, so let me just go through them. Um, Andy, you mentioned what about the GPT-5 model? Oh, you're asking about the data. Yeah, it's a similar. GPT-5 now, actually it's a developed out of 4.5, and they added this kind of other features with the thinking, extending thinking. They create also some deep research. They have added more features to that, but it's the same principle in terms of the doing the probability. Alexandra, she said, my research reframe AI from simple text generators to a tool that actively amplify human institution for level 2 learners. Very good. Now the problem said advanced learning suffer from lacking of native. Okay, that's really often freezing across cultures. Yeah. Now the solution of AI act as a by using context verification, engine learning. Uh, Alexandra, I would like to get the mic, so at least I can. It's a long question, and that's a full research I can spend with you. But it's really I'm really interested to know the result for that. So it said the educational shift. Learners get a risk-free psychological lab to build their cognitive through productive resistance. Well, let me give you my experience with the students. I have noticed some students they they learn they help the AI help them to learn faster, the same amount of knowledge in a shorter time. I've seen some students they really add pressure on them because they are nervous of the result and they need to check check the result, check whether this result is from the AI is correct. So they add more pressure and workload on their shoulder. And I've seen some students it takes them longer to use the AI to learn than they if they do it themselves. So it's varied, and that's really interesting research you are doing. Feel free to email me your publication. So that's really I'm really interested to hear from you, Alexandra. We have a question from, it's not clear the name. If the teacher sets a project with the use of AI, how many of class will produce identical answers illustration? If it is marked by AI, how will the marking system reward them? Uh, if you leave the decision to the AI is little bit sometimes acting as a stupid decision. It's better to you guide them by first of all clear marking criteria. It's important. Clear instruction. It doesn't have to be with this rewarding. It's about giving guiding the AI for better decision by writing a clear guideline, clear instruction. I mean, now Claude, they create something called skills. Skills, it's uh, it's where you write instruction to Claude to make a decision or to do a process. whether this process is writing, for example, a literature review, or helping to do feedback, or writing to find the resources, or building PowerPoint from your research. Write is the instruction clearly to the AI. That's going to give you better result than leave it to them. And that is really important to learn, skills to learn as well. Now, set here, sorry, I'm trying to find the questions. Uh, Now we have a question from Jason. I understand that LLMs and AI can create artwork in the various media, music, visual art, literature. These may be as good as most human effect can produce. However, how do you think the value of such product when traditionally art is often considered to be partly about communication or expression of a unique human experience or perception? Is the result is the result I understand the question. Now, let me give you an example on that. It's in 1997, the computer software beaten Kasparov in chess, the the champion of the world. But since that time, we have more chess player, and people appreciate when they beat human. The machine is there, use it for training, use it for some competition, but the value in the human. Same with the art. If an AI create a piece of art, we know this is AI. It's a perfect 100%, but there is no human touches, and human appreciate human work, and that's what we all have to stick with it and teach the next generation to appreciate human. And that's my opinion in terms of the Jason. I don't know but in terms of the digital, uh, you mentioned the digital romantic partner and ethical philosophical dimension. Yes, we do have a full course in the AI ethics, and we are as a human, we have to reflect that ethics in the AI, and we need to make sure to maintain that, and when we pass it to the next generation. But for your first part of the question about the art, I I have no doubt in 10, 15 years, humans still is going to appreciate human works rather than AI works. If you disagree with me, please write it down, Jason. But I do believe this is what's going to happen as well, because creating images, it's not new by digital images, and we still know this is a digital. And we said, yeah, it's cool, it's nice, but it's a digital. While human, when they do the effort and spend, we appreciate the human work. Let me check if I just in case missed some question. We have Elena said, thank you for your lecture. Thank you very much for attending. Do you think that safety risk and disadvantages you mentioned earlier are reversible? How we could address the cognitive de-skilling? We have to avoid it. Yeah. First of all, we have to prevent these de-skilling in higher education, or in education from the early stages, uh, because it's hard to maintain it or fix it, and that's going to need more work actually. So we have to make sure that at the early stage or the early age of the students, we need to avoid that de-skilling disadvantages, because I'm not saying they are irreversible, but it's hard to maintain it. Of course, if I need to get an accurate 100% answer, we have to do a research and test that also. But that's my from my 35 years experience in education. Yes, the de-skilling is hard to maintain, hard to fix, but it's not possible. It's not impossible. Uh, all right, I think I cover all the questions. Alexandra, if you need to email me, that's your long questions. This is a full research. I'm happy to continue the discussion regarding that with you. And share with me if you have any results as well. But I'm interested to know more about it. Any question? All right. If there is no questions, oh, so we have now another question. So let me just read it. Um, all right. No, I answered all of them. Unless you have any final question, uh, happy to go through it. Thank you very much, Peter. Thanks, Elena. Jason, thank you very much. Uh, there's a question from Cecilia. Are there, how can we avoid LLM regenerating entire scientists from training data? Uh, that's a £1 million question. Uh, I still think that the human intelligence at a certain places it's much efficient than the LLM. LLM rely on speed, huge amount of data, but the critical thinking still belong to the human, and that's how the innovation as well, and creating a new idea that is now still under the human brain, human side rather than so. In a nutshell, it's no. Science still generated by a human, not by LLMs. All right. Any other questions? Okay, Jason. I once helped a friend draft short text. His text checked said that it was 35% AI. It was just me writing. I revised it, could not get. Well, sometimes these website or who measured, they are not accurate by themselves because they are relying on prediction, how that algorithm, how that text generated by AI or human. So it is also rely on probability. So I cannot rely on them 100%. For that reason, in the university so far, we don't have a tools to do that. We are using our a judgment as an academic to say this is an AI. Even if we find a website say this is 100% AI, legally, officially, we can't use it as an evidence. So because the tools are not verified and we don't have algorithm so far tells you this is algorithm is tells you this is a AI text or human text. Have I answered a question, Jason? All right. Thank you very much for your time and looking forward to see you probably next year if you are interested to hear from me again. I can show you some new updates in the next 12 months. Thank you very much and have a nice day, everyone.